Welcome back to the Next Is Now podcast. I'm Max Feldman, and I'm looking forward to bringing you episode 8 of the pod, now the 4th episode down our prep preview series. Through this series, I'm zooming in on a collection of the nation's top prep programs to preview the upcoming season, discuss the state of the NIBC, talk a little bit about program history, recruiting, and much more. Today, we have Montverde Academy's Kevin Boyle Jr. joining us. Since the launch of the NIBC, Montverde has been the league's power. Last year, the Eagles earned the number 1 seed in GEICO after going 23-2 in the regular season, and eventually got tripped up and upset by Sunrise Christian. Now looking ahead to 2023-24, they returned the bulk of their core, including 6 prospects ranked in the top 20 of their respective classes, and a total of 10 ranked in the top 50 of their respective classes. Montverde has claimed 6 national championships in just the last decade, and now look to add another to their collection in 2023-2024 behind Cooper Flagg, McNally, Derek Queen, and company. Thank you in advance to Coach Kevin Boyle Jr. Looking forward to diving in. Welcome, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time here. How's it feel to get back in the gym and have things rolling here?
It's cool. It's one of those things. I always say, like, the good thing about being in a place like Montverde Academy, you have kids from all over the world and all over the country each year, make up the team, and it helps you be really competitive. But something you don't have is, the traditional high school experience where you're probably in the gym during the summer, or you have, past players that grew up in the area that went to the school. So you have, the classes of the last 10 years, in the gym playing against your guys throughout the spring and summer. So it's kind of dead around here outside of us doing camps and whatnot over the summer. So every time guys get back in, mid to late August, we kind of get rolling right away. So we've been going pretty hard for probably over a month, and, trying to get our guys back in shape at game level, and then also introduce concepts and what we're trying to do here to the younger guys that are new. So, so far it's been great, and it's been a good group to work with every day. Excited to come to work every day.
Awesome. You guys return just about more than anyone else in the NIBC, but in what ways do you think this year's roster differs a little bit from last year?
A lot of years it's a sort of a blend of, 1 or 2 like sophomores that are very promising, 3 to 5 juniors, 3 to 5 seniors, and you kind of have like a tiered situation where, as a senior class leaves, that next group moves up, and kind of becomes the focal point of the team. And the difference this year is, we had 4 starters returning to the team, which was Curtis Givens, Liam McNeely, Cooper Flagg, Derek Queen, and then Asa Newell, who did start a bunch of games as well. And it was kind of like one of the group of starters, and, is considered that level player. So you almost feel like you had 5 starters returning. And then Rob Wright, who, told us, in the middle of the year last year, he was definitely coming here the following year. So you kind of knew the whole spring and summer that you had 6 seniors that are starter level players at any school in America that would be here. And it made it a little bit of a challenge, determining, how do you fill out the rest of the team? You don't want to have some, all-American type juniors here that, the reality is, in a close game, there's 6 guys right now on the team that are making up the starting 5 and kind of shuffling and rotating in that respect. So it's a year where we kind of banked on having, the strongest possible senior class that we have, which we have 6 seniors, and then we have that are all ranked in like the top 50 or whatever. And then we have another kid from Brazil who's actually been here in our Center for Basketball Development program, who's a Division I level player, who's a senior. And we went with using this year to get a couple of younger guys and, help them round out the team that, those guys might have, expectations of playing a quarter or less at this stage, and could be accepting of that, but also, use this year for development, where the following year, guys like Caden Allen, Caleb Gaskins, Deani Miller, some of those Gabe Nesmith, who's a freshman, have a full year where, rather than kind of dominating at their regular local high school or, not playing in this type of environment, they'll be that much further ahead the following year. So as a junior, Caleb, Deani, Caden, and then Gabe as a sophomore will already have that year of experience practicing against, the 5 or 6 best seniors you can possibly. So they're ready to go earlier than they maybe would have if they came as a junior or as a senior.
Absolutely. Obviously, like you mentioned, returned the bulk of the core from last year, but Sean Stewart and KJ Evans are two of the guys you graduated to high major programs last year. What was their value to the roster and just the rotation as a whole?
Definitely, KJ, having been here for 2 years, his level of experience and basketball IQ, just understanding, he's one of the guys that when he was here, I had said on a lot of occasions, we're not going to recognize how much value he really had here until he's not here anymore, because he just makes things so simple, even if it's just playing against, full court press, just meeting passes, helping skip the ball over the top, making extra passes, making extra plays. I've always viewed him as, people say a glue player, but he's a super glue player, because he's 6'10", 6'11", can guard 2 to 5 basically, and even is capable for short spurts of staying in front of smaller guards and contesting shots, and just always was in the right spot, was great with the press, and knew everything we were trying to do play wise. And, was just an all around good person and good player, and never a concern off the court or in school. So, he was a great, contributor to our program, won a national championship as a junior and helped us be really good last year. So that's a huge loss. And then Sean, again, I noticed the thing at Duke where he had recorded the highest vertical since Zion Williamson. Just had incredible energy and athleticism, where at any point, if we were stale for a couple minutes, there was games last year definitely where, you could say he was the MVP of the game, just with coming in and rebounding right away, contesting shots, being all over the floor, finishing around the rim. Being able to help turn a slow paced game into a up and down game that was better suited to our pace by being able to run and jump and trap and get back into play. And, he's one of those guys that sometimes you wish you had him a year or two earlier, and, could have helped, maybe be more ready early on in the season. Because sometimes, again, it's an advantage if, hey, we're running these same 8 plays from the year before and we're starting practice pretty quickly. Sometimes you get a leg up on other guys just having been here the year before and knowing what we're doing practice wise, knowing what we're doing every day, being in a sort of a college environment. But, definitely those two guys, they definitely changed us, because last year I felt like we were a pressing team a lot on defense. And I would say the two best guys at that was KJ and Sean, and they helped make us that type of team. So it'll be a little bit different team this year, but skill wise and talent wise and scoring wise, the guys that replaced them are right there, and are going to be good in different ways.
Absolutely. Last year, Cooper Flagg was terrific for you guys. He was instrumental on both ends of the floor. But now a senior, how do you envision his progression within the system?
Last year it was weird because in August, August 20th or so, when we start practicing, he was a freshman, a month and a half earlier. So from August to March, he probably went from, let's say, being the 5th or 6th guy that you would point to as your go-to guy in practice, in offense. And slowly, month by month, the progress happened. And for a guy his level, it kind of happened a little bit quicker, where his role shifted throughout the season. And sometimes those things start to get set on a team. But for the type of player he is, he makes the right play. If you ran 0 plays for him, he's still going to end up with double digits just off of like getting fouled and getting to the foul line, offensive rebound baskets, transition baskets, and then make one or two plays. And now you're at 12 or 14 points. So he had that value. I think now he's gotten a lot better handling the ball, like even something we've done in practice a lot of days. If we do like defensive slide drills or like full court one-on-one, like matching him up against Rob Wright, who's, like 5'11", and showing that, there's no problem with him handling and, being able to use dribble moves to go by a 7-footer or a big man. But the next step is if you're being guarded by a 6'4" strong wing who's low to the ground, can you handle the ball and get up court against pressure? Can you still use dribble moves and use your like ability to shoot jumpers off the dribble to get guys lifted up and go by them against a guard who's trying to lock you up and trying to stay low to the ground, and it might even be quicker than you. So he's showed a lot in that area. And I think also last year, he was like a guy that was the receiver of finishing plays, if it was a lob play or a cut layup, and then scored throughout the offense, just finding it himself. Whereas now a lot more stuff is going to go through him where, hey, like at the end of this set, it's either you shoot or you make the decision about who to find on the play, because he's grown in his confidence. And, this past summer, having to be a guy that, if you didn't score 30 points and have 15 rebounds and 6 blocks, your team is losing. It really helped him with the Maine United team, because it forced him to not be passive and not just pass to the other guy because he's a better shooter, or pass to this guy because he's got a mismatch in the post. It forced him to have to be that number one option against high level players. And I think he's carried that over into our, early workouts and shown that he's been more assertive and looked to make plays at the end of clock in big moments more than he was last year.
For sure. Another guy I've envisioned potentially making a leap just in his senior year in terms of putting the pieces together. What has the progression been like for Asa Newell since he arrived?
I mean, it's been really good, because I think, for Asa, sometimes it's a blessing and a curse when you have different gifts that other guys don't have, like basketball wise. If you're too good of a shooter, sometimes people start trying to explain to you that, well, you're 6'10" and you can shoot, so you might be a Kevin Durant, or you might be this guy or that guy. But I think early on when he got here, there was almost some skipped steps of, because of the perimeter ability you have, handling the ball, passing, making open shots, you've almost forgotten that the reason people value you and project you to potentially be very good down the road is that you can do those things, but you're 6'10" and you run like a guard. So they want you to also do the things that a 6'10" guy does first and foremost, which is we're expecting that you can get 8 to 10 easy points around the rim by beating guys to the rim in fast break, offensive rebounds, being a lob threat, screening, rolling to the rim, and catching and dunking. Now that you can also step out and shoot, that's what makes you special and changes you from other guys. So I think there's been a better understanding of that, where even last weekend we went and played in Orlando, and he definitely had some moments where he stepped out and showed his ability to catch and rip from the perimeter, drive and score, pop and shoot threes. But first and foremost, you're dominant around the basket. Now that's the thing that makes it hard for anybody at any level to take you off the court. And we've had guys in the past, same thing, like Jalen Duren, who's with the Pistons now. He's a lot better passer and shooter and ball handler than people probably recognize as an NBA player. And in 4 or 5 years, they'll be letting him do that. But right now, as a rookie with them, it's screen, roll to the rim, catch and dunk. Screen, roll, one dribble, dunk. And he's putting up record numbers for his age in the NBA doing those things. And we said that to him 2 years ago, that like, you eventually will be able to do those. But to get on the court right now, you have to be productive and dominant. And Asa has really started to embrace that. And I think, just playing with other good players is hard at first. Like when he first got here, it's like, on other teams he was on, he was one of the best 2 or 3 players, regardless, everywhere he went. Once he got here, it's like, hey, there's 4 other guys on the court at all times that could probably make an argument that they're close in ability to me, or that they also have been the best player on every team they've ever been on. And what's the adjustment? being in that environment. And, last year he had some really great moments, and he had some moments of trying to figure it out, and also moments of, hey, like, you are playing pretty well, but if Sean Stewart, KJ Evans, Derek Queen, Cooper Flagg are also on the team, then, we're going with whoever's playing the best out of that group, those 2 or 3 guys for the last couple of weeks. Whoever's been playing the best, they're going to get the nod in a 32-minute high school game. And, I think now he's gotten to the point where, barring, knock on wood, injury or foul trouble, he's going to dictate how much he plays. He's going to play the whole game unless, he can't withstand it conditioning wise, or he's got 3 or 4 fouls early in the game. So this is going to be a year where I think people are like, really, really, really become familiar with his name, and, just lead himself into college next year as a guy that, when whatever school he chooses is playing their first couple games, people are going to tune in because they want to see what he does.
Absolutely. Last year, one of the early question marks just on the outside looking in was the guard play. Curtis Givens was a guy who came in, took that on, and thrived in the process. And now, fresh off a big summer in the UIBL, what do you think are the next steps for him?
It's funny because Curtis is just like even coming in last year, he was a junior that, we never like give any credence to like how someone's ranked or whatever in terms of what minutes they get with us. But he was probably ranked lower than in his own class than a lot of the senior guards were. Even like we had Chris Johnson, Marvell Allen, Draven Gibbs, Lawhorn, who was here. But like slowly it was just like, hey, you know what? This person has really high days, but they have some really low days, or they're struggling in their role. And like Curtis was just like consistently chugging along every day, the same guy, getting you into your offense, making open shots, running your plays, guarding, and giving 100%. And slowly, when things happen throughout the season, this guy's sick for 3 days and can't play these 2 big games. This guy hurt his ankle, so he's out for 3 games. And Curtis continued to find himself, almost in these lucky draws where like this guy's out and Curtis is in, and he kept playing well, where finally we went with him as a starter for I think like the last like 18 or 20 games, and it ended up working out really well. And I think this year, I think he's going to be able to show more of his scoring ability and playmaking ability as a, combo guard, because, last year he by default had to be the point guard and solely in that position. I think for him in college, you want to get the most minutes possible, especially young as a freshman.
Yep.
If you said, I can only play the point, well, now you got to beat out the point guard. And when there's a sub made for the 2 or the 3, and, you haven't shown you can guard multiple positions, or we're not sure about your scoring prowess, then you're not in the equation. If you say, I can guard 1 through 3, I can play the 1 or 2 effectively, now your minutes are doubling at that position right away. And for us this year with Rob Wright here as well, who's, more of like probably just a point, him and Curtis, it's like, been so dynamic together because one guy can bring it up, the other guy can run the court and score, and vice versa, flipping it back and forth. And defensively, it's going to be hard for anybody to comfortably handle the ball with Curtis and Rob picking up your 2 guards, and then you have the rim protection behind you and the length on the wings. So that's one thing I've seen where Curtis has done his job as the point here in practice when he's running the 1, and when he's off the ball, it's really it's shown his scoring ability with us a lot more, and his ability to catch and shoot, because you have another point guard getting into gaps and kicking to you. So,
Yep.
that's probably the pairing on the team that, will change us. And I think I understand why certain height metrics and length and vertical is what they look at as like NBA projection. Why, oh, this guy is ranked above Rob Wright or Curtis or whatever. But like at the high school level, I would not trade any single guy in the country for those 2 guys. Like I can say, whoever it is on this team or that team, or this guy's going to Duke or Carolina and ranked number 5 in the country. Like at our level, and even in the college level, those 2 guys are what you win games with. Just like when we had Ryan Nemhard here, he was ranked below everyone, and I thought he was the most important point guard in America that year. So, it'll be a really exciting year for those 2 guys, and they're gonna really give people hell on the defensive end.
Absolutely. Liam McNeely, one of the top prospects in the country, but I think just in comparison to his counterparts, he's extremely unique in his maturity of his game. What kind of value does he bring to you guys on and off the floor?
Um, he just, he's definitely the guy in the team who, from day one as a junior, was like most comfortable being vocal, like in the gym. Just being loud, getting practices going when guys are slacking off or whatever. Um, and he has a good understanding of what we're doing, like getting into plays, knowing multiple positions. He makes shots. He wants to make big plays. And again, that's the difference sometimes when you see guys go from being a good shooter in high school and then they struggle in college. It's like not everybody wants to play to be drawn up for them in the final seconds of a game. I think we have a few guys that would say, I'd be happy to take that shot, but he's definitely one of them. And, I think last year, one of the things he recognized early was like, I want to get on the court. And he listened to what you said. So it's like, be physical on drives, like on the defensive side, rebound, know all of our plays, be loud, and do the little things that stand out to a coach. And last year, he was our leading scorer. I'm sure this year he'll be similarly in the conversation because the way he shoots the ball, he finishes in transition. He really finishes like straight line drives and off of like dribble handoff stuff with his size. He is physical, gets to the free throw line. So he's going to have another good year. And, I think he's going to continue to do this. But last year, another thing he really embraced was we would say stuff like, hey, if you average 12 points and 1 assist and 1 rebound, that's pretty good, I guess. But if you average 12 points and 4 rebounds and 3.5 assists, you look like a totally different player than that other guy. And he really focused on like being active around the rim on the offensive side, rebounding, helping rebound on the defensive side. And it makes him a different player than a guy who's just a shooter scorer. Oh, he also averages 4 rebounds a game, 5 rebounds a game, which means that, yes, some games he's getting 2, but some games he's getting 7 or 8. And he won some big games for us. Last year we played Sunrise Christian and we were down by like 10 late in the game, came back, took the lead, and we missed a free throw late in the game, and he spun off 2 guys, got an offensive rebound, and threw the ball back out and saved the game for us to end up winning a close game that we probably shouldn't have won just based on a hustle play like that. And I think he didn't even score that well that game. He maybe had like 4 or 6 points in one of his worst offensive games, but made a winning play in the end by just fighting against 2 bigger guys and getting an offensive rebound to keep possession and win us the game. So he recognizes those things, which is why I know the ups and downs of college, where as a freshman, you're not going to score 15 every night. He's still going to show his value and help them win games wherever he goes, and do the same with us this year.
Absolutely. On the outside looking in, the development of Derek Queen since he arrived has been pretty drastic. Having him around for 3 years now, what are some things that have gone into that?
I think, like conditioning, like just continuing to run up and down the court. I think the biggest value for Derek has been the motivational side of realizing in a place like this, like you have incredible talent. You're probably the most high IQ player we've had here over the last like 4 years, like not even close in terms of understanding what we're doing, remembering plays that like we did for 1 week in August of 2021. Like no joke, like he knows everything we've ever done and remembers other teams' plays, like knows he it's an undervalued part of his game that I don't think people realize is that he's probably the highest IQ basketball player in America and one in the top 3 that we've had here probably ever. Passing wise, he's an elite passer. It's just been you're so talented that in AAU and like public school world or wherever you were before you came here, you were so dominant. It's like you're gonna play. And I think here the change has been like, no, like if you're not in shape, playing with energy, sprinting the court, like I said, doing those other things a big guy does, which is rebound, be involved in the play, you can make a beautiful, Hakeem Olajuwon post move and score. But if your man sprints and they just kick it up and score 2 points, two
Yeah.
points is still 2 points. So like you have 6 points on 3 beautiful moves that no one else in the country could make, and your man has 6 points just running the rim and catching a pass and scoring. That doesn't work for us. And I think he's limited that year by year, and also realized, if you don't, you're not playing. We don't have to play you. And at this level, the teams we're playing against, your value in the plus minus category is not in the plus if you don't do those things against, NIBC teams where they also have players that are not as talented as you, but they're as athletic or more, and they're also high major elite players and potential pros, some of them. So, that's been big. And I also think, he's just embraced it over time that, like, yes, this is part of it. He's seen the pattern. And also when you're here for multiple years, I think the thing that's helpful is you see, some guys are ranked whatever, top 10 players when they leave their senior class. And it didn't work out the way that they thought. Other guys, didn't make the McDonald's. Jalen Hood-Schifino, he wasn't a McDonald's All-American. He wasn't ranked in the top 20 by most people. He was one and done, picked in the lottery of the NBA draft. So I think he sees also the things we're saying to you, whatever anybody thinks about you as a player, ranks you high, this or that, it's never over till it's over, never till it's the draft night. Then you celebrate for a few hours and you start at the bottom all over again. So, it's more been mental for him. And, this year, I think it's going to be a great year for him because I think he's finally put it all together. And even though he was on the team that won the Geico Nationals when he was a sophomore, he was not a major factor. And I think, he feels like he was along for the ride, but it's time for him to, prove that he can help lead us to one on his own. And, I think he's up for the challenge, and I think he's excited about that.
How have those young guys, obviously Caleb Gaskins, Gabe Neesmith, Caden Allen, a few of those guys, top prospects in their own respective classes, how have they come in and adjusted to playing the Cooper Flaggs, Liam McNeely's, Derek Queen, and what do you think the value of that is long term?
I think, a guy like Caden, like it's, crucial for him to have success, in basketball, that he was here this year and got exposed to it early because, you can just tell like he's got, God-given talent, like some of the stuff that it's like you can't train someone to like move the way he does, to have the ability to like look one way and like feed someone the other way and like shift the whole court. You can, try, but over time, like some of that stuff is just like you have a natural instinct for some of these things. But the other aspect is like, now how do you integrate yourself into a situation, like you said, playing against quicker guys, size, length, and then more importantly, with other good players, where if he's the number one or number two player on a team, like, he's comfortable being like a high volume shooter and scorer. And, eventually he will be that guy again in high school when he's one of the older guys. But you have to learn how to be a role player and how do you use your abilities within that system. So it's been good for him. I think he'll have an opportunity to fight for time this year, depending on how things go with the lineups and, how the next month or two he continues to progress. Deani Miller is a young kid who played with Caden on his Georgia Stars AAU team. They were like the two, they both averaged over 20 a game in Peach Jam. Tiani's been here for like 13 years, literally since he was in like preschool. So he's been around, knows the system, is a good role player, elite open shooter. So he'll have a chance. And then Caleb Gaskins, I think, has probably been the one who most easily fits into the equation because his game is not as flashy. And I think if the open slot on the playing time for this year is like for like a role defender, rebounder, move the ball, make the extra pass, finish open shots, finish open layups, those type of things, it's more comes naturally to him because he almost is playing a similar role than he did on every other team he's played on. He's never been the guy that's bringing it up, making step back threes, that kind of thing. He's always been a worker, and he's also just at this age, maybe he doesn't develop that much because he's already so developed, but he's the most physically developed, where if you met him, in the supermarket and you said, this kid's, a freshman in college, you look at his body, okay, yeah, like you look like you're 20 years old physically. And that's going to help him get on the court earlier than he maybe would have with his skill and, his understanding of things, so to speak, just because he's been such a good defender. And he's been the guy that's probably done the best job defending like guys like Liam and Cooper in practice and really giving them hell. And he's shown that, like, yeah, you know what, he could play the last 3 minutes of the first half and guard, some elite senior. And our expectation is this guy's not going to go off for 8 points in 2 minutes on Caleb because he's good as a defender and stays low to the ground, those type of things. Gabe, the last couple of weeks has really come on, especially, and shown that, it wouldn't surprise me if he's got the highest upside out of the entire bunch just because his ability to shoot the ball, his athleticism. There's been moments where he's shown real toughness that, I don't want to say the other guys haven't shown, but, he's got a bit of a spark where if you said to me, and he's starting for you guys for 2 years and ends up being in the conversation with some of the better players you guys have had, nothing's guaranteed, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then, the other guy is Ace Flagg, who's Cooper's brother, who, again, I say it all the time, like, if I could pick one guy on the team, they're like, hey, I'm about to go have a bar fight with 5 dudes, and you can only pick one guy to bring. I'm like, 100%, without question, I'm bringing him because he doesn't care about contact. He'll do anything you ask him to. He's so physical. He fights. He brings a level of energy, physicality, and toughness to our practices that, other guys, it hasn't been their calling card, so it's not in their nature. And, he's definitely going to help us this year because he's very much embraced his role as, a Draymond Green type of player on the court where you're physical, you guard, you talk, you're tough, you hit guys on screens. When you have an open shot and Liam has an open shot, you have a full understanding that the ball gets swung. And then when you do that and you start playing that way and making the right plays, you become that much more open for your elbow jump shots, for your open layups. And that, he's seen that happen in practice. So I think we're going to definitely look back if we have the year we hope we have and say there was at least 2 or 3 games where, without Ace, without Caleb stepping in and making those type of plays and giving you key minutes at key moments in the game and making big plays, we wouldn't have won. So, I think we have a perfect complementary group to complement a clear 6 seniors that are as good as you can hope for at this level.
Awesome. Naturally, I think something that's just unique to you guys, I wanted to ask about. Obviously, every roster is going to have turnover. But what's kind of the philosophy in terms of getting these guys into the mindset of being the hunted every year? Even if it's the different guys, Montverde's always going to be the group that's hunted. And, we got to knock off Montverde. What kind of goes into ingraining that into different groups every year?
I mean, somewhat at this point, it's now kind of become known where even yesterday somebody posted a thing of like, what high school would you want to go to? Like Montverde, Prolific Prep, or Link Academy, like on Bleacher Report or something. And it's like that type of question has been asked every couple years for the last like 12 years. And it's always us and 1 or 2 other people. There's always teams that come and go and they're good for 2 or 3 years, or they had a good coach for a couple years, or whoever it is. And it's been us. So at this point, the kids kind of have that in their mind where you have that understanding, but also you just talk about it and say, like, every time we have a scrimmage, every time we have a game, even last weekend, we're like, if a kid comes out and plays well against us, has 5 or 6 threes, that's a scholarship for them. Even if it's to Stetson or North Florida, like we play a team last weekend, let's say, a local team, Westminster Academy or something. This kid has a good game against you, 20 points and 8 rebounds. And even if they lose in a somewhat competitive game, that's a difference of him having a scholarship to college or not. And they know that. So like, even if you guys think, oh, this is the 20th best team we're playing on our schedule, like they are coming, like their life is on the line, because if they make it a close game, that could be their whole season. If they win, they're like legendary in their school. If each individual player plays well, that's, he could have been averaging 20 a game for the whole season, but he goes and shows the tape. I had 20 against Montverde Academy and I played Cooper Flagg had 11 and I locked him up, and here's 3 plays of me stripping him or whatever. That's the difference of their life changing. So, when you say those kind of things, you hope that it starts to, get ingrained in them, and you understand that every game people are coming for you. And I think especially now, the guys that were here before, I feel like when we've had our best seasons, you almost have to lose to win. You have to lose to be really good. Like RJ Barrett had a 35-0 season as a senior, and he went from losing in the semifinals, losing in the championship, and then winning. And it was just that fire that like it's hard to replicate if you haven't already felt that pain of losing and that experience of having teams come after you every game. And this group, you know, you have 5 guys that were on the team last year that know that feeling, that know like, wow, like we got stunned in a game or two, that you didn't expect the team to come out with that level of passion. And you also now went and had a really disappointing first round exit, which we've never had. We've made the championship or won the championship almost every single year. So that level of, you know, fire now to come back out and have something to prove, I think, you know, they have in them, and it's going to propel us through tough moments in the season and, you know, deficits in a single game and tough stretches and a lot of travel. So I'm hoping that that's ingrained in them for sure.
Absolutely. To wrap it up here, I've been around a lot of high-level guys, might not even have to be pure talent level, but wanted to ask you whether it's favorite guys you've coached or whatever you go with here. What's a Mount Rushmore of guys you've coached in Montverde?
Mount Rushmore. I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking it would be funny if we made like a graphic, but like a Mount Rushmore with like 9 heads instead of like 4 because it's really hard. But I mean, I think guys that have just been as a coach, it's so hard. I mean, I think the obvious, you could look at like what was the order of people being drafted and whatever, and it would kind of become obvious. I would say Jalen Hood-Schifino, uh, you know, Moses Moody, um, Ryan Nemhard, and then I'll just pull out another one. Damn.
Got a lot to choose from here.
And I'll say Andrew Nemhard. And I'll say, you know, when I say that, those are obviously maybe like offbeat answers based on who's been here. But like the reason that I like mention those guys, and those are the guys that like come to mind and as a coach that you think about, is because those are all guys that are like have done what they've done without people expecting them to do it. You know, like Jalen was like not a McDonald's All-American, was not ranked as high as he should have been. Ryan Nemhard wasn't ranked at all in the top 100 of his senior class until like the very last poll they put. And he was the most valuable player in almost every big game as a senior. And we were 27-1. The one loss was to Sunrise Christian. We played them 4 times and we won 3. The one we lost, they hit a half court shot to go into overtime. It was like as good of a season as you could have. And he was the MVP, I would think, of our team that year. And then Andrew Nemhard, the same thing, a guy who went through struggles here, almost had surgery that they told him basically he might never play basketball again, came back, went 35-0 as a senior, went to college for 4 years, fought his way into the NBA, and is starting as a rookie. And who was the other guy I mentioned? Jalen, Ryan, Andrew, and then Moses Moody, same thing. I think in the final like ESPN poll as a senior, he was like 45th or something. Wasn't a McDonald's All-American, wasn't as heralded as some other guys, but like just those are all 4 people that professional, go about their business every day, you know, follow instructions, work as much as they can work in a given day, and have seen the results. For Moses, he stepped into college, was immediately successful, went from being ranked outside the top 40 as a senior to being a lottery pick the next year. And those are, again, there's countless guys, Kate, RJ, Scotty Barnes, D'Angelo Russell, Ben Simmons, that are the guys that you would think of that obviously were super talented, did what they're supposed to do, worked hard. But those are 4 unique stories of guys that I think, you know, actually came here, fought, and worked their ass off every single day to get where they are. And Ryan's another guy that, you know, I can guarantee you will have a NBA uniform on before it's all over because he just fits into that same mold. So as a lame coach answer, that's my Mount Rushmore of the Montverde Academy.
No, that's great. That's a great Mount Rushmore there. Again, appreciate you taking the time. Definitely looking forward to watching you guys here pretty soon, and good luck this season.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks.